Thanks for joining me on this walk talk. This particular walk talk is happening on Palm Sunday, so it's appropriate that we take our walk in a palm forest here in Florida. Palm Sunday is that Sunday we celebrate Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, when a huge crowd of people gathered around him and went with him into Jerusalem, waving palm branches and casting their outer garments on the ground before the donkey upon which he rode. It was a triumphal entry, a glorious time. And in fact, when the Jewish leaders criticized the people for making such a nuisance of themselves in this parade of praise, Jesus responded by saying, if they didn't shout out, the very stones would have to shout out. Jesus was really into it. And it's a marvelous story of how Jesus is to be affirmed as Lord and King. And so it's always an appropriate Sunday to emphasize that he's to be our Lord and our King, the ruler of our lives. But something that occurred to me this Palm Sunday season is how imperfect that event was. Not only was there the criticism of the religious leaders of his day, but Jesus also knew that the people didn't really understand why he was entering Jerusalem, that it wasn't to conquer the Roman Empire, but it was to go to a cross to conquer our sin. And in fact, he lamented as he moved toward Jerusalem and he saw the great city in the distance. It says of him this, as recorded in the Gospel of Luke chapter 19, verse 41. As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it. So in this triumphal entry, with all the praise and all the glory being given, Jesus wept because he knew that people would not properly receive him or properly believe and respond to him. And so there was sadness in the midst of it all. And it occurred to me that this is very appropriate for us to remember, that as we seek to be followers of Jesus and make him King of our life and Lord of our life, everything is not going to be perfect. Things aren't going to go exactly as we would like. We have imperfect motivations. Other people will have imperfect motivations or responses to how we live out our lives, and so it's a mess in a way. It's never perfect. It's a hodgepodge. And yet Jesus went along with that. He accepted it, and he still said if they didn't shout out, these very stones would shout out. And so we too, as we seek to follow Jesus, are doing so with our imperfect lives and an imperfect world, but we too are to focus on the good that is happening and just rejoice in it, and seek to follow Jesus and have him be Lord and King, even though we don't do it perfectly and others don't fall in line perfectly with what we're trying to do. Still we go for it. And that's one of the messages of Palm Sunday, that he is King and Lord in even a very imperfect world, and even as we ourselves are imperfect people seeking to make him King and Lord. So let's reflect on that thought this Palm Sunday, and thanks for joining me on this walk talk. And remember, keep walking with Jesus.